After what can only be described as a terrible season, it's hard not to feel at least some level of excitement towards this new Cowboy football squad. Todd Grantham has some buzz going around the recruiting realm in Stillwater, but let's talk about the top 5 Cowboys to watch during this next round of spring.
You are Locked On Oklahoma State, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma State Cowboys, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, y'all, and hello, all. Welcome back to Locked On Oklahoma State, your daily stop for all things Cowboy and Cowgirl related. My name is Cody Stovall. I want to thank you kindly for stopping by to make this your first listen. We're available on all of your podcasting platforms, visually as well on YouTube. Find me personally on X at Aldeo State. Today, we're partially brought to you by Game Time Tickets. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Get squared away with the best in the ticketing industry today. Meanwhile, we're going to shift gears and talk a little bit more about Cowboy football, not who is designated to be the best 5 players, the top 5 players that I want to look forward to in the spring game, but we're going to have another top 5 as Reagan Harris joins the program once again. Reagan, how are we feeling today, my guy?
Hey, I'm feeling great. I'm super happy to be here. How you doing, my man?
Well, I try not to have very many complaints, and after this previous football season, it's probably time to just get all those complaints out of the way because we do get to look forward to a new season. Obviously, an unprecedented move happened by Mike Gundy, whether it be pressure from the Board of Regents or not. We got what we wanted, which is a bunch of new coaches, and those coaches have upticked the expectations already in recruiting. And I would imagine that if you can bring this NFL pedigree that Todd Grantham and even to some degree Doug Meacham bring to the fold, it's hard not to be excited. So let's break down some of the Cowboys that we're both most excited to see. Now, again, this isn't the best players on the roster, right? The 5 next draft picks. This is just in general, with spring right around the corner, who are some guys that you're excited to watch? Because spring always has a couple names that pop up out of nowhere and have something to say about this whole spring scrimmage thing. So if you want to kick it off, I can get off. Doesn't matter. Give me a name. Who's a Cowboy that you're excited to see do something this spring?
Well, we're talking about the Grantham style of football, and I think the first guy to talk about is Jaleel Johnson. I really want to see how he begins to fit into this Oklahoma State defense. You know, he might end up moving into an outside linebacker type position, which is something that Grantham's really well known for. And I've always thought that he has a lot of potential. I watched him last year. We only got a few like true honest glimpses because he didn't really necessarily fit into our scheme. But I think Jaleel Johnson under Grantham could be that guy that surprises a lot of people. And I hope he does because I think he's really important to the success of 2025.
That makes a ton of sense, and him having the ability to kind of rotate with Deshaun Brown. It will be interesting to see if one of those gentlemen do, in fact, kind of step up and take that solidified role there on the outside. All right, so if you're going to go on the defensive side of the ball, I'm going to have to flip over to the offensive side of the ball. I've been hooting and hollering about this guy for a while. To me, it's got to be Shotomide-King. Right, when you have that kind of size and you have that kind of versatility, we all got to see a little bit of what Leon Johnson could provide as a Cowboy. Shotomide-King is just the bigger version of Leon Johnson. Their vertical is almost identical. Their hand size is almost identical. Their 10 split's almost identical. And Shotomide-King is bigger. Regardless of who wins the quarterback battle, they're going to have some 50-50 ball guys to have some success in the red zone. And for me, it's got to be Shotomide-King.
Yeah, I really like that pick. And I'll flip to the offense too. And this is a guy that last year, honestly, I think this attunes to Casey Dunn and his limited playbook because I think this guy has crazy potential, and that's Gavin Freeman. I really want to see more of Gavin Freeman this season. He has so much speed. He struggles to catch the ball in a lot of different situations. But if he's in open space, that shouldn't be a huge problem. And he's got to be that open space guy for us this year. At least one of them. We have another guy that I think both of us are going to choose. But he's an open space guy, and he's really highly effective when you can get him vertically. And we didn't have enough of those route schemes for him. We dropped him back into some screen situations because for some reason, just love to put our fast guys beneath the sticks. Hopefully that changes this year. And based on what I know, that's going to change. So Gavin Freeman, I'd love to see him get more vertical. And I'm excited to see what he's capable of.
I like it. And you know what? It was kind of interesting how he was the mainstay, and then there towards the end of the season, DeJuan Lofton kind of kicked into gear. So maybe it was a game to kind of, maintain redshirt, whatever the case may be. It seems as though we have a couple of viable options to replace Brendan Presley, and this is not even considering Jalen Lloyd. So since you decided to go on that side of the ball, I'll go back on the other side of the ball. We all have to have a replacement for Nick Martin. I think that replacement is going to be Brian McCoy. Brian McCoy obviously is almost the same size, 6 foot, 225 pounds. Whenever you have triple-digit tackles 2 years in any level of college, that's going to be massive, as he did twice at Akron. Comes to Oklahoma State with a 5th-round draft grade. That's partially why I'm so high on him. If you get a 5th-round draft grade out of Akron, you're probably typically going to the NFL. The fact that he decided to come to Oklahoma State is just a statement that he thinks he can make that even better. He thinks he can go from a 5th-round guy to a 3rd-round guy by coming to Stillwater. That has me excited because we have to have somebody to fill in for Nick Martin.
Yeah, that's a great pick. We had, I would argue, the most underrated transfer portal class of 2025. We brought in a ton of guys, especially on defense, that I am extremely excited for.
I like that.
So I mean, fantastic pick there. I'm gonna flip it on over to, let's go with Kobe Foreman. I'd like to see what Kobe Foreman can do this year. I know he's really under the radar, but he's in a key position that Oklahoma State needs a lot of improvement from. And he's young. He's got potential. So I'd like to see what Kobe Foreman can do.
Okay, I'm with it. I'm going to scoot inside a little bit. We all got to see Josh Ford kind of take off and prove himself to be a very, very talented freshman. Yeah. I think we have to have another tight end step up and have a big year. And I think I'm going to go with the Okie Will Hammond coming over from North Texas. Again, you can't just be relying upon one guy. I like Quentin Stewart. I really do, but I think he's more of a traditional blocking tight end. We're going to have somebody step up and be another receptive tight end. I think that could be Will Hammond, the North Texas transfer from Collinsville, Oklahoma.
People are saying, why are we recruiting so many tight ends? Well, because believe it or not, we're actually going to use them now. So I'm excited. I 100% agree. That's a huge pick. And flipping back to offense as well, Caleb Hicks, dude, this guy from Oklahoma, one of the biggest pickups of the transfer portal. Not a lot of people are talking about him because he didn't get a lot of playing time at OU. But I'm telling you, this dude has absurd potential. His 40 time is not funny. It's ridiculous. He's got insane top end speed. He's super agile, and he's going to be that guy, man, you can put in a 2nd and 7 situation, and he can burst to the outside for 6-8 yards. And explosive player. I hope we play him a lot, but we have so much depth at running back. Caleb Hicks is one of those guys that I just want to see where he fits into the depth chart, how effective he's going to be in our new offensive scheme. And where he really, I think the key is like, how does this running back depth chart kind of sort out? Because we have 3 or 4 guys that I feel like are capable of getting starter level snaps. Caleb Hicks specifically, I want to know how many of those he's going to be capable of getting. And if it's a lot, then you guys can know that, man, he's got really high potential. Unfortunately, I feel like he's one of those guys who also has a pretty low floor. I'm hoping he hits at that high ceiling he does, because if he does, watch out. That's a guy that'll be in that breakout player of the year contender for us.
Man, if I didn't know any better, I would have thought you got hijacked by Dante. That is 2 former Sooners that you're picking and your most anticipatory guys in the spring. It almost feels like you got a theme here. All right, so I feel like it only makes sense for me to squeeze this thing down low. I think I'm going to be a big fan at the end of the day of Armstrong Nodum. Again, this isn't end-all be-all who I think is going to start, but at the same time, he came in as a freshman. He had that powerlifting state championship background, but it was proven to be evident because he was the only individual that could do workout partners with Justin Kirkland. Justin Kirkland, I think, is now seeing a little bit more of the benefits of the Todd Grantham style. I think Armstrong Nodum could have the versatility to play outside or inside, much like Duhan, the UTEP transfer. But I really like his game inside. And if you can get that strength level out of Justin Kirkland with Armstrong Nodum, that could be a very disruptive force that causes people to double team if he's able to kind of get more playing time as the season progresses. But I love the versatility of Armstrong Nodum, and you just can't teach that kind of strength.
Another great pick, and I'll agree with you all the time, but I think it's time that we talk about the quarterback position, and I couldn't pick between one guy. Okay, so because it all comes down to this: what does Zane Flores do? Is he the starter for us? Is he a year away? I don't know the answer to that yet because we just had, the first round of spring stuff kind of come around. There's very little that you can gather from that on like a technical who starts level, right? We still have another round of spring, still have all of fall practice. We don't know. That being said, I think we have an idea who's going to be starting at quarterback, and it's because it's maybe the best talent we've ever received at Oklahoma State. And I mean that just in terms of raw composite rating talent. But Zane Flores is that guy we've all been waiting for, and we've been told is this next generational guy. Yet everything I've heard on the spring side is, man, he's just a step away. He's just a step away. Well, I've been hearing that for a year and a half now. So I'm ready for Zane to take action, be confident in his throwing arm, and start hitting guys on the money. Because if he can, he's got all the talent in the world to be that guy. I just want to see if he ends up reaching those levels this year. So I'm excited to see how he progresses throughout spring.
Very fair. I almost feel like that's almost too easy, though. So I'm going to squeeze an extra one in here for all of us. And I'm going to say that we need help at the defensive backfield, specifically corner. And that's either going to be J.K. Johnson or Jalen Davies. If I were to lean one direction, it would be Jalen Davies, just because you look at his highlights that he put together at UCLA, extremely impressive. Obviously, J.K. Johnson was a former 5-star level guy, went to Ohio State, then goes to LSU, has had some massive moments. But we have to have somebody lock down that opposite spot, and I think to fill that Corey Black role, it's going to be Jalen Davies for me coming out of UCLA.
Brother, I'm surprised neither of us said Talon. I'm really shocked. We talk about him all the time, I feel like. You know what, neither of us said him. I hit Gavin Freeman, but there's plenty of receivers up and down the board that we got to learn a lot about.
Well, and I feel like part of it is, again, this will likely change to some degree when it comes to fall, right? We could do a top 5 after spring, top 5 after fall, top 5 after week 1, right? This could change a lot, but just anticipation, right? See, I can't even speak English. The anticipation just to see some of these guys. You mentioned Zane Flores, and I think that's actually perfect for this conversation, because we haven't seen him yet, right? And even whenever you got to experience the fan spring thing last year, it's not going to be the same, or at least we hope it's not the same as this season. We should get a much more live game feel out of all of the quarterbacks come April 19th. So this is just people that everybody wants to see, and I feel like you nailed it. Everybody wants to see Zane Flores. We've seen Garrett Rangel. We've seen good things out of Garrett. We've seen bad things out of Garrett. We've seen good things out of Milwaukee. We've seen bad things out of Milwaukee. We've seen Haas Haney get out there and show off his wheels at TCU, but we haven't really seen him showcase his arm. But nobody's seen anything from Zane Flores. So I feel like this does make a whole lot of sense. People want to see what Mr. Nebraska football has to offer, because he's the only unknown thus far that we have that is competing for this. Speaking of unknowns, we get to talk about Steve Lutz, whether the expectations were met, and your opinion or mine. But before we do that, I do have to remind the fine folks out here that sometimes it's about managing things properly, even your finances. Have you ever woken up and looked at your bank account and wondered, well, where did my money go? That's because you probably didn't have Monarch money. Between dining out, shopping online, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track of your funds. That's where Monarch Money comes in. This is going to be your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is not just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center where you can track all of your accounts, investments, and spend it all in one place without having to stress about building wealth or managing money, because you can do both of those with Monarch Money. The all-in-one convenience doesn't leave you juggling multiple apps anymore. You can use Monarch to check your finances, track your spending, and even plan your long-term goals. Make sure that you take control of your finances today with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONCollege, all one word, at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That is monarchmoney.com, LOCKEDONCollege, all one word, for half off your first year. Not just a percentage, all of it for the entire first year. In addition to that, you know what time it is. It is college basketball craziness. Imagine watching your favorite teams live or your favorite conference games live, feeling the energy of the crowd, witnessing unforgettable moments. There's nothing like experiencing the big game in person. Getting tickets shouldn't be stressful. That's where Game Time comes in. Make it easier than ever to grab last-minute tickets on the most unbeatable prices. Game Time Picks makes it easier for you to find the best value on tickets to sports, concerts, music, and theater. This is easy for you to get the best tickets in the game. Just download the Game Time app where they're going to have amazing deals on some huge matchups coming up. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege, all one word, for $20 off your first purchase. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. That is Locked On College, all one word, for $20 off. Download Game Time today so you can get last-minute tickets, lowest prices, you know what it is, guaranteed. All right, buddy, let's talk a little bit about Steve Lutz. And first off, I will say I have absolutely no way that I could have disparaging remarks, because the day we hired Steve Lutz, I got on this very show and I said, I don't care what happens on the road. I just want Lutz to win at home. Turn Gallagher-Iba back into a place that people fear coming. And 13-3 at home, I don't know necessarily people fear coming, but at least they know coming into the next season, you're not going to go into Gallagher-Iba and get an easy dub. From that standpoint, I feel like he had a very good season. Now, being 1-14 or whatever on the road, that's a tough pill to swallow. We've got to fix that. Luckily, we have the opportunity to do that because we get to take on SMU in Dallas and the NIT. And yeah, I'm a big fan of us making the NIT because it was year one. It was a rebuild. We hired him late. We got the transfers late. It is what it is. We are where we are. Not being in any postseason format in year one, that would kind of hurt. I'm somewhat happy with Steve Lutz in year one. What do you say, sir?
Well, I've been kind of the butt of criticism for how I have felt about Steve Lutz, at least the beginning of his tenure. I had very low confidence. And because there's three roles of a college basketball coach, primarily. Obviously, there's a lot of details and stuff, but primarily there are three roles. The first is the X's and O's, and that's what everyone talks about. It's what everyone sees. And so the average fan, typically, that's what they notice, right? Then there's recruiting, which is the only thing you notice during the offseason. And then there's the administrative side. The absolute most important thing of a college basketball coach to establish a successful program is administrative. You look at the greatest college basketball coaches of all time, Tom Izzo, Bill Self, Coach K, etc., all those greats. The thing that they nailed the most is they created a fantastic administrative format for their college. Kansas, top to bottom, their recruiting schematics, who the ACs are, who's going out and talking to the players, etc. That side, the NIL, the donations coming through the door, etc., all that is A+, and it's what keeps them successful. Good coaches or average coaches can be good at one side, right? Boynton was only good at recruiting. Yes. You look back a little bit further, and you could say that Travis Ford was pretty similar in that regard, right? Travis Ford was also, I think, maybe good at administrative stuff, but not as good at the other things because he had a lot of assistant coaches that were successful for him, right? So the point remains. Whereas Bill Self, he's good at all three. He nails all three. He's a phenomenal X's and O's coach, great administrative and a great recruiter. Steve Lutz is two of the three, and it's what concerns me the most. He has good recruiting, it appears, but there's no way to really know. And he's a phenomenal X's and O's guy. Maybe the best X's and O's we've had in 20 years, okay? Problem is, on the administrative side, from what I have been told to know, initially it was really bad. The reaction was bad. There was a negative response. Donors weren't excited, and that still is kind of the case, right? So that scares me because the number one thing Oklahoma State basketball needs right now is to excite our donor base because we don't have the money. We don't have the money in NIL. We don't have the money in the program in general. And it's why we had to settle on Steve Lutz in a lot of ways. No disrespect at all, okay? Because I think Steve Lutz is a great coach, not our number one guy, maybe our third, fourth, or fifth when we initially went into the coaching search. So that was my initial reaction. And towards the beginning of the season, not impressed at all. A 9 and 5 star, whatever it was. And we looked terrible to start conference play. So the initial reaction is, okay, he's not good at the administrative side, and I'm seeing nothing on the court besides a few minor improvements that don't really excite me. Season progresses. My mind has been changed a lot more because I think his X and O's are here. Oh, it's not in the camera view. whatever. It's high. It's like up here, right? And then recruiting, I still think is down here. So where does he go from here, right? How does he form the administrative side? How does he motivate our NIL base? How does he motivate our donors? And in terms of what we have got from Steve Lutz in the capable things that he has been able to show us from the time he was hired and the amount of time he had to do the things he could, it's an A. He did great. Awesome first season for what we could have expected. Took us to the NIT, and honestly was a player short of being a potential fringe NCAA tournament team to me. I mean, just a consistent man down low away. Do I think he's going to get that this season, the offseason? Absolutely, because Oklahoma State is good enough to get a guy like that. So I think we're a fringe NCAA tournament team next year. Where does he go from that? Because what I don't want us to do is get stuck in this limbo state like we tend to be in basketball, where a coach makes a tournament early and then it just fades from there, which is my concern with Lutz if he can't build the program from the inside out, which I don't know if he can do, because I wasn't sure if he was ready for that leap to the P4, P5 level of basketball yet. So that's my opinion on Steve Lutz, a little bit more clearly put.
No, I mean, I dig it. So basically, what you're saying is, if we make the tournament next year, do not hand him a 10-year contract?
Correct.
Is that
Be safe. Be careful. Be careful, because we do this to ourselves in every sport. Every sport. Be careful. Don't get locked on to a guy because he made a World Series 15 years ago. You know what I mean? Like, let's just be careful with ourselves.
No, that's very fair. Travis Ford, very comparable. Won early, recruited well early, got a massive contract that didn't make sense, and it put us really far behind the 8 ball. And then Mike Boynton kind of got a similar scenario. Now, obviously, it wasn't a 10-year contract, but he had some success, and then he was able to take the Cade Cunningham scenario and turn it into extra money. And, you're right. We do not need to be giving out any crazy contracts, at least not in men's basketball. We could give J.C. Hoyt something kind of wild and crazy, but that could be a conversation for another time. So we are going to shift gears here. I specifically wanted to have you on to talk a little bit of everything here. And baseball is, I mean, we have a team. We have a team, and they hit the ball with the bat sometimes. Yeah, I'll let you stew on that. Meanwhile, speaking of stewing, I got something for you to stew on too. That is right, ladies and gentlemen. Have you ever wondered what it would be like to wake up and feel rejuvenated, revitalized, and ready to punch life in the throat repeatedly? Well, that's what 5-Hour Energy is for, to help you punch life in the throat repeatedly. Daylight savings done snuck up on all of us, and if you're feeling like you're losing hours of sleep, 5-Hour Energy has your back. The extra sunshine means more time for more fun, but it also means more time to get a little boost throughout the course of your day. Whether you're staying up late to watch the NCAA tournament, squeezing in around the golf after work, or you're just trying to keep up with your busy day, 5-Hour Energy gives you the quick, refreshing pick-me-up whenever you need it. The basketball madness is upon us, and you might have to stay up late to catch all of the action. Extra daylight, extra activities. With baseball season here, I'm a busy individual. The days are longer. I need some assistance here and there, and likely so do you. Head on over to 5hourenergy.com to find over 15 flavors to choose from, including watermelon, blue raspberry, and peach mango. You can build your own 12 or 24 pack and have it delivered right to your door. If you need one now, grab a 5-Hour Energy shot at your local grocery or convenience stores. They're essentially everywhere. Stock up today. Stay energized tomorrow. Get squared away with the best in the energy providing business. That is 5-Hour Energy. So you do not miss out on any of your activities due to being tired. All right, man. Here we are talking about baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's a good time to grumble and groan. So I'll take this here. We just haven't looked very good, man. And whenever you see the Division I baseball rankings and you see some of the schools that are ranked in the Big 12, and none of them are Oklahoma State, we found ways to drop games we shouldn't. We had a 1-game stand against West Virginia. That one game would have actually meant so much in the Big 12 race. I have a fear that at the end of the season, that one game could end up biting us because we didn't get it done. And so as much as people were all over Mike Gundy for the 3-9 season, I was one of them. And I didn't mind the Board of Regents forcing Mike Gundy to make some changes. This seemingly needs to happen with Josh Holliday, or am I crazy? Please tell me that I'm crazy. How is Rob Walton still the pitching coach at Oklahoma State University?
Oh, it's not even as deep as the batting or the pitching coach anymore. I know Rob Walton gets the butt of the bat, so to speak, because he's been the problem knowingly for years. Because he recruits all these top guys, and then people say, well, look at what he does. Like, we have top pitchers every year, and it's like, yeah, because we have top guys. He doesn't know how to manage a bullpen, and everyone knows that, and everyone understands that who watches baseball and understands baseball. I know, like, people like to say I don't watch the games, but cool.
Yeah,
I do, and I understand baseball, and I understand how the bullpen works. And it's less about the guys you have and more of who you put out, when you put them out, and how you teach them on what pitches to throw at the right times.
100%.
Because it's the right times that we fail the most on the mound. So put Rob Walton aside. It's deeper than that now. We have a head coach who refuses to take accountability. We have an administration that doesn't want to change because of the name power behind Josh Holliday. And we have all these excuses from the people that, because a bulk of our big fans in baseball are the reality are a lot of our older fan base who like to hold on to what was and not what is, and the reality of what is. It's not an NIL problem with us. It's not a facility problem with us. It's not a recruiting problem with us. We're top 10 in every single one of those regards in baseball. Sure, NIL, maybe not. You don't need to have a top 5 NIL program at Oklahoma State baseball to win baseball games. You don't need that to be losing to Dallas Baptist every single year. You don't need that to be losing your regional every year to teams that you, frankly, aren't on the same level with. We should be destroying these teams that we're losing baseball games to. No one wants to accept that. If you think West Virginia has more resources than Oklahoma State on a baseball level, you're being foolish. It's just the truth. You're being foolish. We have one of, if not the best stadium in college baseball. We have one of, if not the best facilities in college baseball. And we should have one of, if not the best manager in college baseball. We don't have those things. And the reason we don't have those things is because for some reason we've subjected ourselves to believing we're only capable of XYZ. This should be a super regional team year in and out. And the years we're not in a super regional are a disappointment. That's the level Oklahoma State baseball should be. We're well known. Recruits love to come here. We have awesome facilities. We have the NIL. And trust me, how many donors want our baseball team to be good? They just are losing hope, and for good reason, because we pour so much money into this program. Just look a couple years ago, that team that had like 8 picks in the draft had no business not winning the regional. It's an actual joke. So that is my perspective on it. I'm very hot-headed about it because it frustrates me so much how often people defend this program and Josh Holliday when the truth of the matter is, one, if you think Josh Holliday is a good coach and he's still the right guy, fine. I'm not going to argue for it. If you think that everything below him shouldn't be better, you're wrong. Outside of the facilities and resources that he has, everything needs to improve. And that's just the fact of life. We're not hitting as well as we used to. We're not pitching well. We're not doing anything correctly. And even recruiting is starting to look worse. We have to do something soon, or we're just going to fall into the same pit wrestling got into for 2 decades that now Taylor's having to fix. And granted, he's done it in a year and a half. So props to him. But we don't want that situation here. We need to change, and we need to change fast.
Yeah, situational hitting, a.k.a. getting runners on when they're in scoring position, it is a massive struggle for us. And we're able to get the best recruits in the country, especially the 6'7", 250-pound hitters, but we're not good at manufacturing runs. And that does have to come to Josh Holliday. I do view this kind of like the Mike Gundy situation, right? If Mike Gundy refused once again to do anything about the staff, then I feel like it was time to call for his head. But regardless of whether he wanted to or not, that did happen. And I feel like we're in the same spot now for Josh Holliday. Rob Walton is his Casey Dunn, as much as he doesn't want to recognize it, just like Mike Gundy didn't want to recognize that Casey Dunn was an issue for multiple years. And if he refuses to do anything about it, then I feel like we do have to start having a deeper Josh Holiday conversation because, the hitting is frustrating. The mismanagement of talent is frustrating. But he did just win us a Big 12 tournament title last season. And those big fancy trophies, they do a lot when it comes to garnering more support for extended contracts. So I'm okay with Holiday getting some more time. What I'm not okay with is him doing absolutely nothing about the deficiencies that we have. We need to find a new hitting coach. And if he's the hitting coach, he needs to relinquish his job and let somebody teach us how to hit. And we need to move on from Rob Walton. You're right. I don't think Dallas Baptist was the greatest of examples because they are phenomenal.
They're good, but they shouldn't be consistently better than us.
The rest of the losses under our schedule, not the rest, we have enough that are frustrating beyond belief. Losing to Clemson, that's okay. Losing to Texas, that's kind of okay. Losing to Dallas Baptist, that's okay. But the other losses in the midweek games, when you can't figure out your rotation and Rob Walton, I don't know. But you are right. Rob Walton makes me want to pull my hair out. Okay. But Josh Holiday's the head coach, and we're not hitting. And we didn't hit situationally very well last year either. We've turned into this banger bust ball club, which was great when we had Matt Holiday and Robin Ventura on staff. But if Matt Holiday and Robin Ventura aren't there, why are we keeping the same swing for the fences approach? I don't know. That is a viable frustration that you mentioned. Anybody who watches baseball or has some semblance of a knowledge of the game, you can see that the situational moments are where we struggle the most. Sometimes all you have to do is just stay alive, get the pitch count up, help the guys in the dugout, and we don't even necessarily do that little stuff very well. So, if he refuses to acknowledge the situation, then it's time for the Board of Regents to have their Gundy moment. Even though I'm not a fan of the Board of Regents, I think they're a problem. They're definitely a problem in Stillwater.
The Board of Regents, my faith levels go from a 9 to a 3. I don't. I just have no faith in it. We'll see what happens. I agree completely. It's not even just situational, Cody. It's just contact. You just can't contact swing. It's all power. It's all to the gates. It's all 530 feet by Schubert, which is like awesome. Great. Awesome. That's fantastic.
Right. Yeah. Dropping bombs in Obrate or bust.
But it's like, man, at what point are we going to acknowledge that Moneyball changed baseball? You know what I mean? Like, at what point are we going to say that's made it to the college level where the best teams are the teams that get on plate the most consistently? Those are the best baseball teams, not necessarily the Oklahoma States of the world who hit 13 home runs in a single game, but then go out and because they can't hit a home run with the wind, they can only score 1 run. You know, that's what happened against Arkansas a few years ago. They were just dinging it home, and of course they're not going to make it and win it all, but it's whoever hits the most home runs with us, and I just don't think that's the way to play baseball. It's just my opinion. But
you know what? The other day against West Virginia, we at least tried to play some small ball, but I think we got, I don't know, we get in our own way.
If you're consistently forcing your team to play that way so they improve that direction, and then later in the year we're able to be that team, awesome. That's great coaching. We'll see if that happens, because baseball, again, all Oklahoma State inevitably needs to do is make a run in the conference tournament, and we'll be fine. The baseball committee loves us, so we'll get a favorable spot. Let's just, other than putting Dallas Baptist in our regional every year. But outside of that, we'll be fine.
Send them somewhere,
please,
anywhere else. Well, honestly, at the rate we're going now, we don't have to stress about hosting a regional and getting bounced out of our own regional. Like, and I was somewhat kidding early in the season when I was like, I don't care if we win 45 games, do not give us a regional. Well, now we're putting ourselves in a position that we're going to end up as, a 4 seed in somebody else's house. But the baseball gods could smile down on us if we get hot at the right time. That's all that matters.
Put us in Dallas Baptist regional. Let's get some revenge.
That, you know what? That would be nice, and it should be a possibility. Dude, what was East Carolina hosted last year? I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, man. I remember, didn't OU lose their mind over that situation, if I recall? There was something happened where someone was mad about East Carolina, and I was like, that's great. I'm happy for you, East Carolina. Do that every year. Can we get like a Tulane or Troy hosting this year over
you
OU?
nailed it.
That'd be awesome.
And you know what? But at the end of the day, we do have Obrate, and it is about dollar bills, okay? And people like to come to Obrate. So if we have a chance at hosting, they will give us a host spot. If there's any chance of Oklahoma State hosting, they will do it because of Obrate.
Again, more proof that it's not about resources. It's not. We are fine in that regard. There are some teams that have over us, LSU, Texas A&M, Texas, but they're above everyone, and there's still other teams winning championships, okay? So it's a bigger problem.
All right, buddy. Well, I think it's time that I go back to screaming at the TV and paying attention to not only the Madness basketball bracket, but the Madness wrestling bracket. That's what we were listening to right before we got on the air here.
Yep.
The race between the Cowboys and Nebraska right now is pretty tight. And honestly, it's still very, very unrealistic. But we're both still technically within striking distance of Penn State. It would take some craziness to happen that but at least this early on, we're making a run at it. Last year we finished 10th. The year before it was right outside the top 5. The last time we finished in the top 5 was 2021. So if this holds serve, I'm okay with it. We just need Wyatt to keep dominating.
Yep. We're doing good.
Okay, buddy. Let the fine folks know how they can get a hold of you and see your work, Mr. Reagan Harris.
Yeah, just OK State Mart on Twitter. That's really about it. Or you can catch me broadcasting on krfsports.tv. That's all I got to say. Go Pokes.
I like it. All right, brother, man. Thank you very, very much for coming on. We'll have to kind of retouch on this after spring. Fair play?
Yep, absolutely.
All right, bro. Hamalai. I reckon that's all we're going to have for this one right here. As always, you know I love you. God bless. Go Pokes. Thank you for tuning in to make this your first listen here in Locked On Oklahoma State. You could be anywhere. So happy you choose to be here. Do me a favor, hit the like button if you liked it. Dislike button if you didn't. That's okay too. More importantly, share, comment, and subscribe. My podcast, people out there, you are what makes this thing turn. Do what you do. Hit the stars. Leave a review. I appreciate you. Later, taters.